She showed up on blind date covered in mud. The millionaire was about to walk away, until he saw her. The moment their eyes met across the mud-splattered restaurant, everything changed. What started as the worst blind date in history would become the love story that would define them both, proving that sometimes life's messiest moments lead to our greatest blessings. If you're enjoying this incredible true story, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more heartwarming tales that remind us all that love finds us in the most unexpected ways. Marcus Harrington checked his Patek Philippe watch for the third time in 5 minutes. 7:35. She was officially late. Not fashionably late, disrespectfully late. He drummed his manicured fingers on the white tablecloth of Lumiere, Boston's most exclusive restaurant, where he'd secured a reservation 3 months in advance. At 34, Marcus had built his tech empire from nothing, transforming a dorm room startup into a billion-dollar company. He'd conquered Silicon Valley, but finding someone to share his life with had proven far more challenging. After a string of relationships with women who seemed more interested in his bank account than his heart, he'd reluctantly agreed to this blind date arranged by his sister, Claire. "She's different," Claire had insisted. "Emma's brilliant, kind, and couldn't care less about your money. Just trust me." Marcus was beginning to regret that trust. He signaled the waiter for another scotch, deciding he'd give her exactly 10 more minutes before leaving. His time was valuable, after all. The restaurant's maitre d' suddenly appeared at the entrance, his normally composed face twisted in horror. Marcus followed his gaze and nearly choked on his drink. A woman stood in the doorway, completely covered in mud from head to toe. Her once white dress was now a disaster of brown splatters and smears. Clumps of dirt clung to her hair, and there was a distinct trail of muddy footprints behind her. The pristine restaurant fell silent as every diner turned to stare. The woman scanned the room, her eyes landing on Marcus. With a grimace that might have been an attempt at a smile, she started walking directly toward him. "No," Marcus whispered. "No, no, no." "Marcus?" she asked, stopping at his table. "I'm Emma. Claire's friend. I am so sorry." Marcus stood, ready to make his excuses and leave. This had to be some kind of joke. Or a nightmare. But as he rose, something stopped him. Behind the mud and embarrassment, her eyes, a striking shade of green, held something that caught him off guard. Intelligence. Humor. And a vulnerability that seemed to say, "I know how this looks, but please give me a chance." Against every instinct, Marcus found himself saying, "Please, sit down." The maitre d' rushed over with extra napkins, his expression suggesting he'd rather escort Emma out. Several nearby diners were openly staring, some whispering behind their hands. "I should explain," Emma said, her voice steady despite her appearance. "I'm a wildlife veterinarian. I was finishing an emergency procedure on a wounded fox when I realized I was already late. I didn't have time to go home and change, so I came straight here." She gestured to her mud-caked self. Obviously, that was a miscalculation. Marcus found himself unexpectedly intrigued. "You chose to show up looking like this rather than stand me up?" "I believe in keeping my commitments," Emma said simply. "Even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable." Something about her directness disarmed him. In his world of calculated business moves and people who told him what he wanted to hear, her honesty was refreshing. "Most women I meet spend hours getting ready to see me," Marcus said, surprising himself with his candor. Emma laughed, a genuine sound that seemed to brighten the air around them. "Well, I spent hours today helping animals who needed me. I hope that counts for something." It did. More than she knew. The restaurant staff, seeing that Marcus wasn't going to dismiss his unusual date, brought Emma a damp towel for her hands and face. The maitre d' discreetly placed a tablecloth over her chair to protect it from the mud. As they ordered dinner, Marcus found himself captivated by Emma's stories. Unlike his usual dates who asked about his business or his homes, Emma talked about rehabilitating eagles with broken wings and teaching children about conservation. When she did ask about his work, her questions were thoughtful, focused on the problems he was solving rather than his success. "So why did you agree to this blind date?" Marcus asked as they finished their main course. "Claire mentioned you're not exactly a fan of the dating scene." Emma's smile faded slightly. 2 years ago, I was engaged to my college sweetheart. We had our whole life planned, the wedding, the house in the country, even names for our future children." She paused. Then he met someone else. Someone who wore designer clothes instead of mud boots. Someone who attended charity galas instead of sleeping in research stations. She shrugged, but Marcus could see the hurt still lingered. "After that, I threw myself into my work. It was easier than risking my heart again." "But your sister is persistent." "That she is," Marcus agreed, thinking of Claire's determined matchmaking. "Your turn," Emma said. "Why is a successful, reasonably attractive millionaire resorting to blind dates?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "Only reasonably attractive?" Emma grinned. "I don't want it going to your head." For the first time in years, Marcus found himself telling someone the truth about his loneliness, about the emptiness of success without someone to share it with, about his fear that he'd never find someone who wanted him for himself. "The last woman I dated," he admitted, "asked for a prenup from me. She wanted to protect her brand, in case I was using her for her minor Instagram fame." Emma's laughter echoed through the restaurant, drawing more stares, but neither of them cared anymore. As they left Lumiere, Marcus offered Emma his jacket despite the mud that would surely ruin the expensive fabric. "I can't let you do that," she protested. "I have others," he said simply. Walking her to her car, an ancient Jeep filled with veterinary equipment, Marcus realized he didn't want the evening to end. "I'd like to see you again," he said. "Perhaps with less mud next time, though I have to admit, it made for a memorable first impression." Emma looked up at him, her green eyes serious. "Before you ask me out again, you should know what you're getting into. I work crazy hours. I'll always choose saving an animal over a fancy dinner. I'll never be the polished socialite who fits into your world." Marcus stepped closer. "Maybe I don't want someone who fits into my current world. Maybe I'm looking for someone who can help me build a new one." Their first kiss tasted of mud and possibility. The following months were a revelation for Marcus. Emma showed him a life beyond boardrooms and business deals. He joined her on conservation projects, discovered the joy of rescuing abandoned animals, and found purpose beyond accumulating wealth. For her part, Emma learned to accept Marcus's generosity, not the extravagant gifts he tried to give at first, but his genuine desire to support her work. When he funded a new wildlife rehabilitation center in her name, she finally understood that his money was simply another tool for creating the change they both wanted to see in the world. Their relationship wasn't without challenges. Marcus's business associates were baffled by his choice of partner. Emma's colleagues were suspicious of his motives. Their different schedules and priorities led to arguments and misunderstandings. The breaking point came 6 months in, when Emma canceled their anniversary dinner to help with an oil spill affecting local wildlife. Marcus, who had planned to propose that night, was devastated. "You always choose them over me," he said when she finally called, exhausted after 36 hours of rescuing oil-covered seabirds. "That's not fair," Emma replied. "This is who I am, Marcus. You knew that from our first date." The silence between them stretched painfully. "I thought I could handle it," Marcus finally said. "But I'm not sure I can." They agreed to take some time apart, both wondering if their worlds were too different to merge after all. 3 weeks later, Marcus sat alone in his penthouse, staring at the engagement ring he'd never had the chance to give Emma. His phone buzzed with messages from his executive team, but he ignored them. Nothing seemed to matter much without her. His sister Claire called, and he almost didn't answer. "You're an idiot," she said when he finally picked up. Hello to you too, Marcus replied dryly. Emma is the best thing that ever happened to you, and you're throwing it away because she's dedicated to her calling? Do you know how rare that is, to find someone with that kind of passion and integrity? Marcus sighed. It's complicated, Claire. No, it's not. You're scared. You've spent your whole life controlling everything around you, and Emma can't be controlled. She's messy and unpredictable and real. Her words hit him like a physical blow. She was right. He'd been trying to fit Emma into his carefully ordered life instead of embracing the beautiful chaos she brought with her. Where is she now? He asked quietly. At the rehabilitation center. There was a storm last night. A lot of injured animals coming in. Marcus knew what he had to do. The rehabilitation center was chaos when Marcus arrived. Volunteers rushed back and forth carrying supplies, veterinary technicians treated injured wildlife, and in the center of it all was Emma, giving calm, clear directions while bandaging an injured hawk's wing. She looked up and saw him standing there in his immaculate suit, so out of place among the mud and medical equipment. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Marcus rolled up his sleeves and walked toward her. What can I do to help? Emma's surprise gave way to a tentative smile. You'll ruin your suit. Some things are worth getting a little muddy for, he said, holding her gaze. They worked side by side for hours, saying little but rebuilding their connection through shared purpose. When the crisis finally abated, Emma led Marcus outside to watch the sunset over the sanctuary. I'm sorry, they both said simultaneously, then laughed. I've been thinking, Marcus said, taking her mud-streaked hand in his. About our first date. About how I almost walked away when I saw you covered in mud. I wouldn't have blamed you, Emma said softly. But I would have missed everything that matters. Marcus knelt down, not caring about the mud soaking into his designer pants. I almost made the same mistake again. I was trying to fit you into my world instead of building a new one with you. He pulled out the ring he'd been carrying for weeks. Emma, I love you, mud and all. Actually, especially the mud, because it represents everything good and real about you. Will you marry me? Tears mixed with the dirt on Emma's cheeks. Are you sure? My life will never be neat and tidy. I've had neat and tidy. It's overrated. Marcus smiled up at her. I choose messy and meaningful with you. Emma pulled him to his feet and into her arms. Then yes. 1,000 times yes. Their wedding 6 months later was anything but traditional. They held it at the wildlife sanctuary, with rescued animals as part of the ceremony. Emma wore a simple dress and mud boots beneath it, just in case, she'd said with a wink. Marcus surprised her by announcing the creation of a foundation that would support wildlife conservation efforts across the country, with Emma as its director. You've shown me that true wealth isn't about what you have, he told their gathered friends and family. It's about what you give. Emma gave me the courage to get my hands dirty, to step outside the world I'd built and see what really matters. As they shared their first dance as husband and wife, with an orphan fawn watching curiously from nearby, Emma whispered, "Thank you for not walking away that night." Marcus held her closer. Best decision I ever made. 5 years later, Marcus and Emma Harrington had transformed both their lives and countless others. Their foundation had saved thousands of animals and protected vital habitats. Marcus had restructured his company to focus on sustainable technology, while Emma's rehabilitation center had become a model for others across the country. Their home, a farmhouse with modern additions that Marcus had designed, was always full of rescued animals in various stages of recovery. Their twin daughters, now 3 years old, were growing up understanding both the privilege of their father's success and the responsibility that came with it. Life wasn't perfect. There were still muddy footprints on expensive carpets, interrupted dinners when animals needed emergency care, and the occasional clash of their different perspectives. But they had learned to embrace the beautiful mess they'd created together. On the anniversary of their first date each year, they returned to Lumiere. Emma always arrived impeccably dressed, but the maitre d', now a friend, would present her with a small container of mud, which she would ceremoniously dab on her cheek before sitting down. It was their reminder that sometimes the most beautiful beginnings come from the most unexpected, messy moments, if only we have the courage not to walk away. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe for more content that celebrates love in all its forms. Remember, sometimes the most meaningful connections happen when we're brave enough to look beyond appearances and see the true beauty within.